Hey guys, Darth is back and we are still playing Queen's Blade Limit Break in 2023. How you doing, guys? Sorry for the long hiatus. I have been very sick. It really did derail a lot of my plans when it came to getting out content and kind of stepping up. Although I was still and am still kind of bouncing around whether or not I'm going to stick with the game. But until I make that decision, I'll kind of outline that out in a video for you guys. YouTube is kind of acting a little weird, so I will say that if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please consider subscribing. There are some algorithms there that help new and up-and-coming content creators, which never really thought of myself as one until recently. Reach certain milestones. I think 4,000 is the first milestone. I was sitting at around 187 to almost 200, 202, and then somehow I just dropped. I lost like 50 subscribers, and that could just be people who quit playing the game. Just keep in mind, you don't have to unsubscribe to a channel. You may just want to turn off notifications. The YouTube community generally helps each other out with subscriptions because it helps them reach those milestones that help them progress in the YouTube community. But that aside, that's not what we're here to talk about today. What we are here to talk about is the new SP Warrior that went live today. We're going to take a preliminary look at her, an overview on what I've already seen, and keep in mind that anytime I make a recommendation, it is subject to be incorrect and different based upon changes they might make, and the community may not feel the way that I do. But it doesn't make me wrong in what I'm saying or why I'm saying it, because I will always qualify it with backup statement or reasoning and or gameplay and footage. Now, this is her. It is the Year of the Rabbit, which is the general theme, this little red theme that they're going with here, 2023, and she resembles somewhat of a rabbit. She kind of reminds me. At first, she reminded me of the Easter Bunny Break Warrior, but I think that this one looks really well done. Much actually sexier and better than the Easter Bunny. And the spicy pose is, well, definitely better. We'll take another look at it here in a few moments, but just understand that there are a lot of arrivals. So there's a lot of activities in general going on. I have not covered the New Year's event. I am protesting that because it is a shit of an event. It is basically pay to participate for the most part in a lot of what is going on. There are some rewards to be had there, so I'm still debating on whether or not I should actually do something about it. But I digress on that. Let's go into the arrival summons. The good thing about having so many arrival summons at one time is good and bad. It's bad that it's going to drain your books if you decide to pull for multiple people and you are somebody who is what you call free to play, which is why I do these reviews. But keep in mind, these are my opinions. Now, a lot of times the devs do have specific intents for warriors. They have a theme for warriors when they release them. This physical one actually does have a purpose or an intended purpose as far as I can see. You're going to kind of see that, and then I'll give you my thoughts on whether or not I think you should pull for her. Just being really solid, it's always a good idea to have at least one copy of the warrior to take strategic advantage of the arrival summons as well as the monster takedown, and anytime they release any other event bosses, they seem to feature warrior specific. And then as always with the 3 realms under the adventure and explore mode, you get bonus currency for having the warriors. It's just another way that the developers kind of try to trick you into spending money for books and pulling. Take a look at the spicy here. Really nice. I'm going to hide the IU. This is supposed to be a staff, and this is really fun. I don't want to talk about what's going on here. Maybe they went a little too far this time with the rabbit. Her hat over here and whatever this is supposed to be. But keep in mind, this is an adult game, not a child's game, whatever that might mean. So here's the warrior. Let's go take a look at her. We'll take a look at what her intended purpose is and whether or not she's effective at doing that and whether or not you should pull. This one's a bit confusing because you have a bunch of skills: Golden Dawn, Golden Were-Rabbit, Golden Dusk, and Magic of the Fist Sun. I want to cover these in a different order. Let's take a look at her innates real quick. Her passive, she gets 45% to attack, 25% HP, crit rate. Also, during first sunrise style, we're going to take a look at that in a second, 100% chance to grant golden dusk to self. She is a mage, meaning that she is an AoE attacker by general default. So when you look at some of her numbers, her attack values may not be high, but she's actually capable of doing good damage. So on her the fourth ability here, it's actually a passive, but it's very, very interesting. At the start of battle, use his own max HP by 50% to trigger a shield equal to 100% of her max HP, lasting 4 turns. Cannot be removed. That's awesome. But it also triggers first sunrise style, which is what we saw under her passive here, basically making it 100%. But under her passive, it says sunrise style, her attack plus 20% for the entire duration of the shield. Which is a bit confusing to some degree. 100% to chance to grant golden dust. I'm sorry. During first sunrise, which is her third ability. So let's finish up with this last ability here. Her attack while she has a shield is increased by 20%, which is actually pretty good. When she received fatal damage, leaves her with 1% of HP and generates a shield equal to 50% of HP. So what we've seen basically with a couple of warriors is specifically under skill, the Vines gal, she actually can cheat death once per match. When she takes fatal damage, she goes into a seed and then re-blossoms. This one doesn't re-blossom, she just is stuck with 1% health and generates a 50% shield, kind of allowing you, I guess, to recover if that's what you want to think. But some of this will make more sense when we look at the team that she battles in the trials. Cannot be removed. I love this. When the shield forms again, also the first sunrise style triggers again. So she triggers the shield. Once it's gone, when she loses her life, basically, or is going to go down, she's left with 1%, and then she triggers a shield, and then she re-triggers first sunrise style, which we'll take first sunrise style basically is attack plus 20%. So let's look at her third ability. When an ally attacks, she deals 50% magic damage to one enemy with the lowest HP with an 80% chance of inflicting burn for 2 turns. At the same time, 50% chance to inflict firebomb style, which is something that she does. She does firebombs. Up to 3 attacks per one ally and up to 6 attacks per turn. This is interesting because I've tested this with a counter-attack team, and she actually will do an attack on a counter-attack. The way you test that is you put the pirate and be Alyssa in there, and you can test her out that way so she can stack Firebomb. Firebomb style basically gives you damage resistance plus 4% stacking up to 5 times. Can't be removed. Basically, that's 20% extra damage resistance, which is actually pretty good, and it's actually pretty important to this shield, because to my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, the shield actually respects damage resistance, meaning that the shield takes less damage if you have higher damage resistance. That's kind of weird, considering that a lot of damage is fixed, and it kind of ruins the fixed damage when a lot of, with the exception of burns now, a lot of fixed damage is kind of weak in comparison, but I digress. That's not what we're here to talk about. Burn loses HP equal to 20% instead of the standard 15% of the user's attack. First ability deals 160% magic damage to 3 enemies with the highest attack, consuming all firebomb style, and grants attack plus 10% per firebomb style, basically. Now, when you compare the fact that she is a counter-attacker, when an ally attacks, she deals magic damage and grants firebomb. So she builds up damage resistance and then detonates her damage resistance, clears it, for increased attack on her 160% magic damage attack to 3 enemies with the highest attack. Okay, cool. I'm not a fan of this for one reason, in that because she's an AoE, her damage is going to be low, and even though she can increase it, it's still low. Magic damage is not keeping up with the increased HP and defenses that warriors can get, and that needs to change. And instead of damage to 3 enemies with the highest attack, why in the hell on an SP character are you not hitting all enemies with a magic attack? I'm going to digress on that one. However, you remember me telling you that she has a very specific intent from the developers, and why You may be thinking on a DPS, which is what she is, why would you stack so much damage resistance? There's a reason, and that reason is we have to go into her trial battle. And you're going to see it. I've only played around with the first couple, but look at the team that you're fighting. You're fighting a burn damage team with physical Nanel. Now, Nanel is actually, if you don't know, burn damage is doing really good on teams because she transfers all burns to the enemy with the lowest HP, which is exactly what this warrior is intended for. Now, this is me when I was testing Alyssa and her. We're going to take a look at her for the first couple of moves just so I can give you an idea of what's going on. So right away, her fourth ability kicks in. She sacrifices 50% HP to gain a 100% HP shield, giving her massive defenses. And then what happens is every time she attacks or counterattacks, she's going to stack what's called Firebomb, giving her 4% damage resistance, which helps with this shield. Now again, we're going back to the fact, let me restart it, going back to the fact that you are fighting a team that loves to transfer, to stack burn debuffs and then stack them on one person. And it stacks it on the person with the lowest HP. Are you starting to see where I'm going with this? She sacrifices 50% of her HP, giving her the lowest HP on the team, but it gives her 100% shield. So when Nanel goes in and transfers all burns, her shield basically reduces damage and because of the damage resistance and absorbs every one of the burns. She has a very specific intent and purpose. Now I think it's kind of weird that they would use a physical warrior to negate a physical team's powerhouse. Generally, they use, because physical is actually weak to, I believe it's skill. So it would have made more sense to give this to a skill warrior, although I think skill is massively favored right now and whatnot. But all in all, her abilities are actually kind of cool. So she stacks damage resistance, uses it to reduce that burn damage, and then the fact that if you throw in Hydrangea here, she actually heals for a percentage of all of the burn damage, which it's fixed damage that happens. It's debuff damage. She heals for 50%. In my testing, that 50% did not heal the shield. She would have been an extremely valuable warrior if that was the case, but what it does is it kind of negates an X percentage of, well, it would have negated an X percentage of the warrior. But anyways, that is kind of a preliminary review. She's got some wonderful animations. I like the fact that it's gold. So you can see that she attacks. Look how Alyssa counterattacks, and then she attacks again. So it is possible to stack that damage resist. And if you remember, going back to her abilities, she gets bonus damage up to however many stacks she consumes, which is 5, grants attack plus 10% up to 210%. This 210% doesn't make any sense because even at 5 stacks, it's only 50% extra magic damage. They probably meant to say that this 160 can only max out at 210, basically. That's it, guys. That is a overview. She's not going to change PvP by any means. She's a super solid warrior for what the devs intended, and they did a solid job of making that intent come true on her. Unlike the Break Warrior. The Break Warrior was supposed to be a team cleanser that we all thought was going to help out with the fish and any debuffs really in cleansing, and they didn't really hit that marker. Should you pull for this one? Absolutely. At the very least, pull to get her to 8-star. I'm probably, because I have books, I'm probably going to take her to 10-star. You never know when she's going to become a valuable asset in various parts of the game. But right now, she's not going to change the PvP meta, but a very interesting kit and things that she can do. I can also see putting her on not just on a physical team, but on a counterattack team to build up those stacks much quicker and then eat those physical burn damages. And keep in mind, it's not just burn damage that she's going to eat. She's going to eat curse damage. She's going to eat bleed damage, all damage. That shield is there, and it's a very powerful one. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments. Let me know if you guys are going to pick her up, whether it just be for the looks or just to have her in case she does become useful. Or are you going to use her when you have to face attribute trial and you have to face Nanel, who seems to be causing a lot of problems now because of the way that she works? Let me know. Thanks for listening, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.